guys, Goku wants to break all limits and show all the gods the infinite power of a Saiyan. To do this, King Sadala will help him and you will be impressed by Goku's form. Curious? Come find out with me, but before we start, leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Let's start right now. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet of the god of destruction, it was possible to see Beerus and Whis sitting on a branch of a tree that was connected to Beerus's house. The two were sitting on a cloth, and in front of them there were different types of food made by Bulma that she had made for Beerus and Whis, while preparing a picnic for her family, because Bulma and her family were going to enjoy a nice afternoon, and to make sure that Beerus and Whis wouldn't get involved, she prepared a lot of food for them so Beerus and Whis could enjoy a picnic on the god of Destruction's planet, while Bulma and her family enjoyed a pleasant afternoon without any of them suddenly showing up to eat something. Whis said it was very kind of Bulma to prepare all of this for us to have a different experience than usual. These foods and snacks that Bulma made that are normally made and taken to enjoy this picnic, they are very good. Even though some of the foods are small, they are delicious, Whis commented, taking a small natural sandwich and bringing it to his mouth and smiling when he tasted the sandwich. Beerus said, I completely agree with you, Whis. Even though these foods and snacks are not a feast like the dinners or lunches that Bulma makes for parties and events, these foods are delicious and the sweets are also very good, and apparently Bulma sent us some pudding, Beerus said, eating the things in front of him until he saw a very large tray of pudding that Beerus immediately started eating. Whis, who was eating calmly and drinking a juice, ended up looking at his angel staff, which was shining, which showed that Whis had received a message, and with that the angel ended up taking his staff and started reading the message, which was from his father. Beerus, who was eating everything in front of him, ended up paying attention to his angel and saw that the smile that was on his angel's face began to disappear little by little, which worried the god of destruction. After all, his angel and master didn't let his smile disappear, and when this happened, it was because Whis had received a very bad message. Beerus said, by the look on your face, I would say that something serious happened, and this time I think it is not something serious but worrying as the Tournament of Power, if not something even worse. So tell me what happened so seriously this time for your smile to have disappeared, Whis? Beerus asked, stopping eating and looking at his angel and master, who was still seeing that message, and a short time later Whis finished reading and sighed heavily. Whis said, I thought that the most serious thing that could happen in recent times would be the Tournament of Power and a possible future Tournament of Power, since Zeno-sama ended up enjoying seeing mortals from the universes fighting against each other. But I never thought that something like this would happen, at least not anytime soon, Whis said in a tone of concern, and upon seeing that, Beerus became even more serious about the matter, so much so that he stopped eating and faced the angel and also his master of several millennia. Beerus said, you saying things like that already show that things are very serious as the Tournament of Power, so stop stalling and talk once and for all about what the hell is going on, Beerus said in a more serious tone with his angel, who sighed again before starting to speak. Whis said, the gods of destruction who have the mortal level above the required level and who did not participate in the Tournament of Power ended up contacting the High Priest and talked to him about the mortal level of the universes that participated in the Tournament of Power, and said that our mortal level is really disappointing, and even though we have very strong mortals, this does not mean that in general the mortals of these universes are strong, but rather very weak because of the negligence of the gods of destruction of these universes in question, and that is why they spoke to the High Priest and gave him an idea on how to solve this problem in the long term.
Guys, before continuing this epic story, leave your like, and of course if you want to help the channel, leave your super thanks below and help the channel financially, and also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news.
Whis said, looking at his master, who was serious and paying attention to the angel's every word, but at the same time Beerus was irritated with the gods of destruction who wanted to talk to the High Priest even though it wasn't necessary after the Tournament of Power. Beerus said, those guys sure must have talked to the High Priest saying it would be for the good of the universes in general, but I'm sure they decided to talk to him just to screw over the gods of destruction who aren't that good at their jobs. And it really makes me very angry, so angry that I could split those gods' faces in two. Now tell me at once what they suggested to the High Priest. Beerus said, now becoming increasingly anxious to know what the gods of destruction had said to the High Priest, who had been so serious to the point of worrying Whis. Whis said, I'll try to explain it in a simple way, Mr. Beerus. The gods of destruction suggested eliminating all the other gods of destruction and replacing them with the strongest mortals in their universes. And after doing this, they want to use the Super Dragon Balls to reset the universes to their primitive forms and leave the new gods of destruction take care of him, and hope that they don't make the same mistakes as the ancient gods of destruction. In short, they want you and the other 7 gods of destruction who participated in the Tournament of Power to be replaced by new gods of destruction, and for the 8 universes to be reset, so the new gods of destruction could take better care of them than the previous ones, which in this case would be you and the others, said Whis, looking at his master, who had a serious expression on his face that was soon replaced by an expression of anger. Beerus said, "Those damn things. The Tournament of Power has already happened and we managed to survive thanks to Goku and his friends and even that worm Frieza, and now those damned people have this idea of eliminating me along with the other gods of destruction and putting someone else in my place. And the worst thing is that they want the strongest to replace me, and at the moment the strongest mortal in the 7th universe is that damned Frieza. But luckily Zeno-sama likes Son Goku, so he would probably take my place, which is better than Frieza." Beerus said, irritated with everything he heard to the point that his energy began to leave his body, generating great pressure in that place. Beerus said, "I just hope that the High Priest didn't accept this proposal, but since you are serious about this matter, it means that he accepted it, or at least thought about it, and talked to Zeno-sama, and Zeno-sama's response was sent. For you, then tell me Zeno-sama's decision soon." Beerus said, calming down and making his aura disappear, and the pressure that was in the area disappear along with it. Whis said, the High Priest talked to Zeno-sama about this subject, and he didn't like it very much because they were going to eliminate several powerful and interesting mortals like Son Goku, and they didn't want that, so the High Priest suggested that they have a final battle between the gods of destruction and mortals, and this battle was called Ragnarok, the final battle, because the High Priest studied the culture of humans on planet Earth a little and ended up naming this battle that way. So the 8 gods of destruction will face 8 other mortal warriors, and whoever wins 5 battles will be the winner. If the mortals win 5 battles, they will stay alive for a few more millennia, but if the gods win, the mortals will be reset. If there is a draw, the eliminated gods of destruction will be replaced, and the mortals who won will replace them, and the universes will be reset as in the original plan, said Whis, looking at Beerus, who ended up sighing before giving his angel a smile. Beerus said, "At least I'll have an opportunity to maintain my role as god of destruction. In the past I depended on Goku and the other warriors to survive, but now I only depend on myself," Beerus said, looking at Whis, who ended up giving a slight smile. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, Bulma was sitting in a grassy area with Chi-Chi. The 2 women were enjoying the local climate, which was very pleasant as it was not too cold nor too hot. For both of them, the climate in that place was perfect for a picnic, which was what they were both doing it. The 2 women's children were at their friends' houses, and as that picnic had been arranged at the last minute, their children ended up not going, but the 2 women took the opportunity to have an afternoon without their children, which it was relaxing for both of them. Chi-Chi said, "It's so good to have a calm day like this without any evil beings attacking our planet, threatening our universe, or even threatening us or our loved ones. I have to admit that this is very rare to happen. Goku has been staying at home more in recent months and spending quality time with me and our children. This is so rare that sometimes I think I'm dreaming, or that somehow they ended up replacing him with someone else who looks like him, but is a little more careful than the original Goku. Well, regardless of that, I like to see him spending more time at home instead of training all the time," Chi-Chi said, taking a glass of juice and drinking it while looking at Bulma, who was next to Chi-Chi. Bulma laughed at the comment from her best friend's wife since childhood. Bulma said, "I agree, Vegeta also spent more time outside training than at home with me or our children, but now he spends a considerable amount of time with me and our children, even though he still trains a lot. But now there aren't many threats, and the real threat to all of us is Frieza. But luckily Goku and Vegeta are now strong enough to face him. But if something happens, Goku and Vegeta could use fusion to become Gogeta, and with that they could easily defeat Frieza just like they did with Broly a while ago. And not only that, but we also have Gohan, who is on the same level as Goku and Vegeta," Bulma said while looking at her friend, who ended up agreeing with her, because thanks to all that the 2 Saiyans were more at home recently. Chi-Chi said, "So that's why Goku and Vegeta reduced the amount of time they spent on their training and now spend more time with our families. I'm happy to see that. Normally, I don't like seeing Goku or any of my children training or fighting against powerful enemies who always want chaos or our destruction. But nowadays I see that if Goku and Vegeta hadn't become so strong, our planet would have been destroyed by the hands of several enemies and thousands of lives would have been lost. So I'm happy that Goku and Vegeta ignored us at that time to train hard and thus save us all," Chi-Chi said as she smiled at her friend, who smiled back. But something was about to change in everyone's lives as Beerus and Whis were arriving on planet Earth. In the sky, Goku and Vegeta began a violent exchange of blows, generating shockwaves. The two Saiyans were careful not to hit the mountains as it was close to the Capsule Corporation's base, because if that happened, it could end up hurting their wives. The two Saiyans at that moment were in their base forms exchanging punches. That battle was balanced thanks to the physical capabilities of the two Saiyans, where Goku was faster and more agile than his Saiyan rival. Vegeta was resistant, and his blows were stronger than Goku's blows. The two Saiyans, who were now exchanging blows, ended up moving away from each other and transformed into their blue Super Saiyan forms and advanced against each other again, exchanging a sequence of very fast blows that for their wives were just two golden dots facing each other, and disappearing and reappearing in several different locations, exchanging blows and generating large shockwaves that were already so loud that Chi-Chi and Bulma ended up putting on headphones so as not to be affected by the noise of the shockwaves caused by the two Saiyans' exchange of blows. The two Saiyans remained training in their Super Saiyan blue forms for a long time, and only when the sun began to set, the two decided to stop with that combat training, something they did at least twice a week, so as not to lose too much energy. Rhythm of their training and combats. After all, there will always be someone wanting to do something against their families or universe, so the two could not get rusty to be able to fight against the strongest beings like Frieza or any other opponent that could appear in the future or in the worst of times. Cases of a friend or ally becoming an enemy, as has happened several times in the past, especially with Vegeta. After finishing training, the two Saiyans approached their wives and sat next to them and began to eat with them. And when the two couples realized it was already getting dark, which made Goku laugh, which was accompanied by Bulma, who was so excited, talking about her children who didn't even notice the hours passing. But there was something that left Chi-Chi a little intrigued. Vegeta was serious during much of the conversation between them, and that was making Goku's wife curious about why Vegeta was like that. Bulma said, "Did something happen, Chi-Chi? You've been looking at Vegeta for a while now with that thoughtful expression of yours." Bulma asked, curious about why she was looking at her husband that way, and that attracted the attention of the two Saiyans, especially Vegeta, who was curious about why his rival's wife had been staring at him for some time. Chi-Chi said, "I'm curious about why Vegeta is so serious. I know he's too serious by nature, which is the opposite of Goku, but he's too serious today," Chi-Chi said, and at that moment everyone looked at Vegeta, who sighed before speaking. Vegeta said, "I'm serious because I think something is going to happen. I don't know how to explain it exactly. I always feel something inside me warning me of a threat, just like I felt when the Tournament of Power was announced, and I feel like this earlier today. That's why I called Kakarot, so I could fight him, because I thought it was the lack of training that was doing this, but that feeling remains inside me, and that's why I'm serious like this," said Vegeta, looking at his rival, who also became serious. Goku said, "I was thinking it was just me, Gohan and Goten who were feeling this, but apparently you're feeling this way too. Vegeta, maybe Trunks and Broly are feeling this too. I think we Saiyans can predict future battles thanks to our battle instincts," said Goku, looking at his rival, who was looking at him seriously. Goku and Vegeta ended up getting up and looking at the sky, and suddenly the two Saiyans transformed into their Super Saiyan blue forms. And when they did this, their respective wives were confused, but they saw a large golden sphere in the sky heading towards them, and when the Saiyans saw this, took their wives and disappeared using their teleportation techniques, getting out of the way of that Kai attack that, when it hit the ground, generated an explosion bigger than the explosion of a nuclear bomb. Minutes later, Goku and Vegeta and their wives appeared on top of a mountain, and when they looked up and saw Beerus and Whis looking at them, Beerus had a serious expression on his face, and even though he didn't know why he had done that, the two of them Saiyans got into a combat stance, and Beerus began to release his aura of destruction. The attack created by Beerus was certainly intended to eliminate the two women and their husbands who were now in a combat stance. Goku and Vegeta were using their Super Saiyan blue forms, and the two Saiyans were confused about the reason for that attack. Sudden, after all, Goku and Vegeta had become friends with Beerus and were trained by Whis, so in the minds of the two Saiyans, it wouldn't make sense for the god of destruction to attack them so suddenly. Vegeta said, "Kakarot, tell me that you didn't provoke Beerus or do something stupid that would make Beerus so angry that he would attack us so suddenly, because it doesn't make sense for him to attack us like that for no reason," said Vegeta in a serious tone towards his rival, who like him was serious, but also extremely surprised by Beerus' sudden attack. Goku said, "I would even like to know and answer yes so we can resolve this peacefully. And even though I want to fight Beerus, he wouldn't attack us so suddenly. Unfortunately for us, I haven't done anything recently. I haven't even talked to them lately. I'm spending most of my time with my family, so I have no idea why Beerus is attacking us," said Goku, irritated. As he didn't know what was happening, he only knew that his wife almost lost her life for no apparent reason. Vegeta said, "Much less me. The few moments that I ended up interacting with Beerus in the last few weeks were when he showed up at the Capsule Corporation so he could eat something, or came to get something so he could eat with Whis. And speaking of which, he showed up earlier today and Bulma gave a basket full of different foods so he can have a picnic with Whis. So if you didn't do anything with Beerus and neither did I, then why did he attack us so suddenly?" Vegeta asked irritably while staring at Beerus, who was releasing his aura of destruction while staring at the two Saiyans. Beerus, who until that moment was just staring at the two Saiyans and leaving his aura of destruction exposed, ended up taking a deep breath and then he disappeared and reappeared in front of Vegeta, aiming a punch at his face. But Goku managed to punch Beerus's fist. Doing his blow was redirected, and taking advantage of that moment, Vegeta threw a kick at Beerus that was fast enough to move away from the two Saiyans. Both Goku and Vegeta looked at each other and nodded at each other, and then brought two of their fingers to their foreheads. Then the two touched their wives, and before they could react, the two women ended up disappearing from that place, which made the two sigh with relief that their wives weren't staying in that place that would be the stage for a battle between those three. And even though the two Saiyans didn't know why Beerus was doing that, Goku and Vegeta agreed to fight just because Beerus almost eliminated their wives, which angered the two. With their wives already far from that place, the two Saiyans advanced towards Beerus and began attacking the god of destruction with a sequence of synchronized blows, and Beerus just kept defending himself from the blows and sometimes receiving some of them, but none of these blows were managing to hit. Truly the god of destruction, who upon finding a gap in the Saiyan's movements, ended up using his tail to unbalance Goku and hit him with a kick that threw him against a mountain. And Vegeta was next, because in the next second he ended up receiving a punch that threw him towards the heavens, and before he could think, Beerus was already on top of him, landing a kick on Vegeta that threw him against another mountain. Beerus, not wanting to give either of the two Saiyans time to recover, he ended up advancing towards Vegeta, and as he got closer to him, he ended up starting a sequence of blows on the Saiyan Prince, who could only cross his arms in an X to defend himself. But suddenly, one of Beerus's punches was blocked, and when he looked ahead, he saw Vegeta's blue hair turn purple, showing that he had just activated the power of Ultra Ego, and in the next instant, Beerus ended up being thrown back thanks to a punch from Vegeta that made him move away. Beerus managed to recover from that blow easily, but before advancing against Vegeta again, he ended up having to dodge a kick from behind that had been given by Son Goku, who activated the power of Ultra Instinct to face the god of destruction, who was hit by a kick given by Vegeta, who took advantage of that gap to attack Beerus. Goku and Vegeta, now using their powers at their peak, were ready to go all out against Beerus, who was excited for that fight so much that he began to release more of his power, which surprised the two Saiyans as they didn't know how strong the god of destruction was from the 7th universe. But to everyone's surprise, a group of people ended up appearing at the place. That group was made up of Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Piccolo, Majin Buu, Broly, Krillin, Android N degree 17, and Android N degree 18. All the newcomers landed next to Goku and Vegeta, who were still surprised by their arrival, and even though the Saiyans didn't like others getting involved in their battles, they ended up staying quiet and accepting, because at that moment, no one knew what was going to happen and how. They were facing the god of destruction of the 7th universe. Any help would be useful. Goku said, "On a normal day, I would tell all of you not to get involved in our battle. But as I really have no idea why we are fighting, this time I ask that none of you hold back in this fight. Beerus tried to eliminate me, Vegeta, and our wives, which means he'll eliminate all of us if he needs to, so let's go all out at once," said Goku in a very serious way towards his friends who had just arrived. Hearing his father's words, Gohan sighed and raised his power, transforming into his bestial form. Piccolo began to increase his power and transformed into his orange form, becoming larger and more muscular. Broly increased his power and transformed into a Super Saiyajin, already having a good command of this transformation. Goten and Trunks faced each other and waved at each other and fused to become Gotrunks and soon transformed into Super Saiyan 3. Majin Buu began to release smoke from his body and soon his appearance changed to a thinner version of yourself and more powerful. In the 7th universe, a big battle between Beerus Beerus and all of Goku's friends was about to happen. But Whis managed to calm everyone's spirits, especially Beerus, as Whis knew he had no time to waste, and Whis had to make a big announcement, and after a few minutes now everyone were gathered in the corporation capsule, and it was possible to see Goku and Vegeta sitting on a sofa next to their respective wives, who were still in a state of shock from the last event that almost made them lose their lives due to Beerus's sudden attack, and in front of them were Beerus himself, and Whis sat on the couch looking at the Saiyans in a neutral position, unlike the two Saiyans who looked seriously at them for what Beerus had done. Whis said, well, apparently now everyone is calmer and won't let themselves be carried away by anger or something else that could trigger a deadly battle between you, which would be a very bad thing for the 7th universe. In reality, it would be bad for all universes, even more so now that all universes are at risk of extinction again, Beerus said before leaving the room along with Whis, who followed him to the lawn. Beerus said, if you want to protect all mortals in this universe and even in other universes, you will need to become more powerful. So become more powerful and protect everyone. Our next meeting will be in the arena where Ragnarok will take place, so become more powerful and win your duel against a god of destruction. But I guarantee that if you face me, I will use all my power, said Beerus before throwing a crystal to Goku, who caught it and saw that it was a type of portal crystal to the empty world. And before the Saiyans could say anything, Beerus and Whis disappeared in a pillar of energy in the world of Void. Currently in the Void world, it was possible to see a small planet very similar to the planet of a Kaio Lord, and on the planet there were different types of training equipment that were not only on the planet, but there were also some that were floating around the planet. In a certain area of the planet, it was possible to see a large wooden table full of chairs that were mostly occupied by Saiyan warriors from the 6th universe, who were talking and discussing what they would do to strengthen the strongest among them. But soon the conversation ended up being stopped when a portal appeared in the place, attracting the attention of everyone present, and soon a group made up of all the Saiyans from the 7th universe ended up leaving that portal, which made some of the warriors from the 6th universe smile more excited, like Kaba, who hadn't seen his master for some time. Kaba said, "It's good to see you again, Master Vegeta. I wish it was at a calmer time and not one that could bring about our extinction, but it's still good to see you again," said Kaba while looking at Vegeta, who waved at him and at the same time analyzed the power level of his disciple, who was much stronger than years ago. Vegeta said, "We came here to decide the best way to increase the powers of the strongest among us, and apparently Kakarot will be responsible for representing us at Ragnarok, so they have already found a way to make him more powerful to have a chance to do so." "Victorious?" Vegeta asked after feeling the power of everyone present, and according to his judgment, there was no one in the place as powerful as his Saiyan rival besides the Saiyan warriors from his universe. King Sadala said, "And why should we trust our lives to this Kakarot? From what I can see, we are all Saiyans, so why should we leave the survival of all mortals in our universes in the hands of this Kakarot and not in my hands? After all, I am the king of the Saiyans in my universe, and from what I know, you are the only Saiyans existing in your universe." King Sadala commented while looking at Vegeta that he realized that the king of Saiyans from the 6th universe was at least a little like his father. Vegeta said, "According to all my knowledge up to this point, you and the Saiyans in your universe didn't even know how to transform, because in the old martial arts tournament between the 6th and 7th universe, and while you didn't even know how to transform, Kakarot and I were already learning how to become divine beings. So even though you are a pure-blooded and powerful Saiyan for your people, this threat is not on the same level as you. They are gods, and Kakarot has already been compared to them in the past. So you will have to accept Kakarot as chosen, or we will have to fight here and now if you prefer," said Vegeta while looking at the king of Saiyans from the 6th universe, who appeared to be thinking about the words he just heard. Goku, who was quiet next to Vegeta, sighed before releasing some of his power, transforming into Super Saiyan God, showing the great difference between his powers and those of the others present, something that surprised the King of Saiyans, who was unable to feel Goku's power. But he knew it was great and was superior to the power he possessed, and even though he was a proud king, he also knew the right time to bow his head for the good of his people. Vegeta said, "Do you need any more proof to see that Kakarot is our best option at this moment, or would you prefer to fight him? You can fight the Kakarot, but I don't guarantee you'll last long against him," Vegeta commented while looking at the King of Saiyans, who just sighed at that. King Sadala said, "No, I think this is enough for me to see that he must be the strongest among you, and according to my Saiyans, you were already very powerful during your participation in that tournament of power, and you must still be more powerful after so many years," said the king of the Saiyans while looking at the Saiyans from the 7th universe and seeing that Goku returned to his base form, and they all sat in the vacant seats. Kaba said, "Before you arrived, we were discussing some ways to strengthen the warrior who would fight against the gods for the survival of mortals, and we even had some ideas. But now as Mr. Goku who will represent us, these ideas are completely useless because she will make Goku so strong in just a few hours," said Kaba while looking at the Saiyans from the 7th universe. Goku said, "So why don't we do that Super Saiyan God ritual? In the past we used the ritual so that I could achieve the power of a god to be able to face Beerus. Perhaps with so many Saiyans present and powerful, it could make me awaken a new transformation. Perhaps an evolution of my Super Saiyan God form, and even if that is not certain, at least I'll get a power boost that combined with Ultra Instinct, I should be able to take on the gods of destruction," said Goku while looking at everyone present, and those who had known him the longest were surprised and even shocked by the idea because it could work. Vegeta said, "I never thought I'd say this, but you had a brilliant idea, Kakarot. We have a few hours until the start of the tournament, so let's take advantage and do extreme training during this time to become more powerful. And when Ragnarok is starting, we will do the ritual to make Kakarot more powerful than before. And for that, I will transfer a little divine energy for everyone, so the ritual will be even more effective than imagined," said Vegeta, and everyone agreed with him and went to train except Goku, who needed to be 100% to face the gods of destruction. Sometime later, a considerable amount of time had passed, and now all the gods of destruction and their angels were gathered in an arena located in the center of the empty world, as well as Zeno and Daishinkan, who were in a VIP area to be able to better see the combat between the gods against humans. Daishinkan said, "The first battle will be between the god of destruction from the 11th universe Belmod against the Saiyan warrior from the 7th universe Son Goku," said the high priest, looking at the arena where Belmod and Son Goku were, who was away from him. Belmod and Son Goku, upon hearing that, put themselves in a combat stance and began to release their energy, which caused an aura to generate around the two, and Goku's aura was different. It was now golden with some blue rays. Daishinkan smiled when he saw that both warriors were ready to start that fight, and with that, the high priest started the fight between those two. Belmod, seeing that Goku had not yet activated the power of Ultra Instinct, which would be annoying to deal with, ended up advancing at high speed against the Saiyan, aiming a punch at his face, but Goku was quick enough to dodge the blow and counter-attack, with a punch to Belmod's stomach, followed by a spinning kick that made the god of destruction move away a little, but Belmod just smiled when he saw that Goku's blows hadn't even made a scratch on him. Belmod, seeing that Goku was weak, advanced towards him and began to deliver a series of blows to the Saiyan, who was managing to defend himself and dodge the blows of the god of destruction, who noticed that Goku's aura became more golden every second, until suddenly one of Belmod's punches ended up being interrupted by Goku, who in the next instant punched him in the face, sending him flying and hitting the barrier around the arena. All the gods were impressed with Goku's strength and speed at that moment because that blow was done in a fraction of seconds, and what they saw right after left them even more impressed. Goku, who was previously meters away from Belmod, simply appeared in front of the god of destruction, who, when looking at him, was shocked to see Goku's new form, which now had his body made of gold with some blue details on his body. Seeing that Goku was more powerful than before, the god of destruction began to raise his energy and transform, but was stopped when he received a punch to his stomach that was so strong that he spat out blood. Then Goku ended up kicking him towards the sky and advancing towards him at high speed, landing a kick that threw the destroyer of the 11th universe to the floor of the arena. Goku at extreme speed appeared again in front of Belmod and began attacking him, throwing him in random directions across the arena. But he always appeared at the place where the destroyer would fall and hit him even more. And as Goku's attacks were extremely fast and powerful, the destroyer couldn't even think of what he should do or how to defend himself. But all of this ended suddenly when Goku appeared in front of Belmod and created a golden sphere in his hand and threw it towards the god of destruction, where his body was destroyed by Goku's powerful Kamehameha, and with that the mortals of the 7th universe had their lives guaranteed until that moment. Beerus thought, As I thought, you always manage to exceed all the expectations we place on you, Son Goku. Beerus thought before starting to laugh in a low tone, but loud enough for some of the gods of destruction to look at him and his excited expression on his face. Guys, that ends today's video. Do you believe this story deserves a continuation? Who do you want to fight in the next battle of the new Tournament of Power? I left your comment and also your like, and of course subscribe to the channel. See you later.